So I will talk about my clinical experience and the application.
We need to use it? Okay, sorry. About the clinical experience which I have and what application I found that are useful. I call it intraoperative fluorescent imaging already because it's not only the angiography, but we can also highlight the vitreous body, and other application can be drawn for that. So I will start with the first video, which is a case of arterial occlusion. And as we pointed before, it can provide us with non-perfusion area identifications, and especially in vascular cases, it's really important to not overtreat, because in this case the non-perfusion area might not evolve like in the diabetic cases. Here is another example of diabetic case where the venostasis is obvious, and after a mechanical indentation in the periphery, we actually start to see a reperfusion. So these are phenomena that we don't normally look for, see, document, and we don't even think about it. Here is an example of fluoroscopic visualization of the vitreous, where low concentration fluorescein is injected intravitreally during the surgery, and I found that it penetrates the vitreous. It not only covers the surface like other agents like triamcinolone, but it penetrates and it is fully stained. So if you want to clean the vitreous thoroughly, probably it's good to see it. This is another video where there is exactly comparison between a glutein dye 300, which is supposed to stain the vitreous. In my humble opinion, it's similar to the triamcinolone, but with orange color, because these are particles, so the staining is mechanical. I wouldn't say that it is a chemical. With the fluorescein, it is penetration and staining of the water solution or the water content of the vitreous, because the vitreous, as we know, is 90% water. So in this eye, I used first the glutein, and later on you will see how much vitreous is left after I thought that I cleaned everything. So obviously it's quite good in terms of identifying or highlighting the highlight. So I don't see any difference between this and triamcinolone in terms of action, and yeah, obviously it's indispensable. And now, over a PFCL bubble, another good thing, the fluorescein doesn't mix with PFCL, so we can use it in the same time. And you can see how much vitreous, especially in the periphery, is left in this eye. So it's debatable, should we clean thoroughly the vitreous or not, but at least here is shown that we don't see the vitreous with the current staining agents. And that is why yesterday I said that the ingenuity provides us with the ability to see the invisible, which is a bit of a, let's say, tease to the audience, but the vitreous is mostly invisible, and sometimes with playing with the light, we might highlight certain areas of the vitreous. So, do you agree that there is a lot of vitreous in that eye? Remnant after the staining with the, let's say, classic approach of staining. So with the fluoroscopic visualization, we might use really low concentration of fluorescein, I mean less than 0.1%, and really low quantity. Yesterday or the day before, I heard Don D'Amico commenting on the green men, because they put a lot of fluorescent in the eye. It is exactly the same experience that I had with undiluted fluorescein, it was cleaning forever. I mean, it stays there. So it's a matter of quantity and concentration.
Do you think there's any side effects when you put higher concentration in that patient? Other than you're looking at everything?
Other than a sea of fluorescein.
If I have to be honest, we didn't, let's say, experience something more than 2 cases of itching and coughing during the procedure, but intravenous one, not intravitreous. No single case was a problem. And after the first one, when I put a lot of fluorescein, obviously I reduced the concentration, and that is why I tried the fluoroscopic visualization, because it is even less concentration, which might provide you with this imaging.
Lukan, you're using the same light source and the same filter and the same Ingenuity digital filter for fluoroscopic visualization as you are for angiography?
For a fluoroscopic visualization, I use a little bit different filter because I need to see the underlying retina. And otherwise the excitation light source is the same. But I found that in 1.4, if you switch to halogen profile, normally we are doing it on constellation for the angio, but for the fluoroscopic visualization, if you switch to halogen and you need to modify a little bit the digital recipe, you see the underlying retina. Otherwise, in black and I have videos in black and white also. You can clearly see the vitreous, but underlying retina is not well seen, and iatrogenic damage can be done. And that is why I use EFCL also to just keep the retina more stable in the periphery.
Have you tried mixing and matching light sources? For example, a chandelier
Yes.
with low light
Yes.
chandelier,
Yes.
or
Yes,
the
it,
light pipe.
it works. Chandelier like 10 to 15%, and then you have the
And the blue light pipe.
Blue light
Blue
pipe.
light pipe with a low light
No.
ambient chandelier. Not blue.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
But the blue light should be really intense.
Yeah, the blue light always has to be
Yeah.
turned all the way up.
So what is interesting that we found also is that in epiretinal membrane cases, normally we used to say it is idiopathic or it is degenerative, but probably because we do just OCT and we say, okay, surgery. But I found in 99% of the cases that we have peripheral vasculitis, and we have occlusions, and we have leakage, we have, let's say, inflammation. So even from a histological point of view, the epiretinal membranes are with macrophages in them. So definitely there is inflammation. And now here you can see multiple points of hyperfluorescence. So for example, if I need to finish my surgery with some substance in the eye, I can justify that I can do anti-VEGF or I can do anti-inflammatory. Triamcinolone, for example. But here, now you will see the periphery in a moment. We even found a case with presumed sarcoidosis, so with nodules in the periphery. And around the nodules, there are areas of non-perfusion. So for me, nowadays, the term idiopathic is a little bit not correct. So you can see in the periphery what happens here. What is this? Still here also. So the obvious reason to use the fluorescein angio is the diabetes. But anyways, there are cases where we might utilize it also. Here, this is a case of a macular hole. But just for the sake of the image quality and the finding, it's an arteriovenous shunt. The patient didn't know that something is in her eye, but you can see the filling, and you can see the early hyperfluorescence around this area. So the loop here is quite beautiful, let's say. I must say that for me, the most important part, apart from the digital barrier filter, is actually the illumination source. I played a lot with the photon, with the constellation, with the dark LED, with other sources, and up to now I found that the xenon-based source is the best working in my hands. So just to show you here that it looks almost the same as a regular fundus camera. And
So you're using the Constellation Xenon with,
nowadays, no.
okay,
I started with other source. I tried the Constellation. Actually, the Constellation color profile is the best one in terms of uniformity of the light and intensity of the blue spectrum. For example, all the LED sources, they have a peak on 470, but it is narrow. I found that we need a broadband blue light, meaning something around from 470 up to 490 at least. So 30, at least 30 bandwidth.
And how do you put the filter over the light?
You mean in the Constellation or on the other?
The others.
You need to have a mechanical skills.
well, what we need is the companies to do that for us.
Up to now, there is
Actually,
no single company to.
I'm right here. Hey, I'm a fan.
Yeah.
You need to be talking to more senior people at home. The others refuse, actually.
But,
So here is something that I experienced recently around September. It was a case which I showed yesterday, but anyways, it's an obvious occlusion of the upper arcade. And since we realized that, our anesthesiologist said, let's do something. And we tried heparin on perfusion during the surgery. And this is a phenomenon of reperfusion, which is documented. Probably it happens in other surgeries, but I just saw it here, and it was fascinating how we can see even the clots which are moving into the vessel. So
you had the change during the surgery, you identified it and then you treated it?
yeah,
It's pretty impressive.
yeah, it was, when I saw it, I said, I will present this on Florida. Definitely.
I'm not sure that's reperfusion. I think that's backflow through the venous side vessels. I don't think that you're getting.
Why backflow will come from the optic nerve, not from the periphery? If it's a venous, on the previous video I can.
Oh, this is an old vein occlusion, or is this an old artery occlusion?
I think it's an artery occlusion.
Right.
Yeah.
So, if the artery is closed,
Yeah.
right, and you're perfusing the perfused retina, the superior retina, through the artery, it goes into the vein in the healthy retina.
Yeah.
It goes back to the central retinal vein, right? There's no pressure in the inferior arteries, so it's backflow. So that's not reperfusion. That's backflow through the veins. Because look at it; those are obviously the veins, right? That are being reperfused. They're big and they're fat. I don't think that's the artery that's reperfusing. I think that's the vein that's reperfusing.
Could be actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't thought about, let's say, intravenous shunt in the optic nerve. You mean that? Yeah.
Mhm.
Because they have a lot of connections there.
Yep.
Yeah, could be.
So I think those are the veins that are backflow into the occluded retina.
Yes, but still it's fascinating to see that.
It's very cool. It's an amazing picture, right? And we've never seen this before, right?
What was the
Me
original?
either.
What was the original indication for surgery?
hemophthalmos. So we didn't know what is behind. This is one of the commonly asked questions: why do we need fluorescein angio intraoperatively? Exactly where we cannot do outpatient, ambulatory fluorescein angio. The good thing here is that the patient actually doesn't experience any scotoma, meaning that at least the central macular area is preserved. Obviously, here we have a perfusion, but probably with microperimetry we might catch the problems. And here in the vascular cases, as I said, it's really important to have a, let's say, navigated laser, because we will be more precise actually. So
Lukan, these images are fantastic, and I love the way you switch back and forth, because there's biomarkers in the color photograph that we don't understand until we look at the angiogram. Right? Because you can see, now that we've seen it on the angiogram, you can see the non-perfusion on the color photograph too, right?
yeah.
Right? But you wouldn't know that unless you looked at the angiogram. So this is so powerful.
And you still think it's a thing?
I don't really know. I mean,
It's hard to
obviously Dr. Riemann has more experience than me. And there is a lot of logic of what you said about the venous arterial recirculation, probably refilling. But flipping the filters is something that I regularly do, because I have more than 10. And sometimes you see something that you don't really thought about it. I mean, this filter is not created for this particular condition, but you can see a lot of things sometimes. This is one of the cases with the, for example, I found that there is a mix filter in the 1.5 ingenuity, and it works really well in the posterior segment for highlighting the vitreous, the mix filter, which is supposed to be for glaucoma. So just as a recommendation. And again, this is for the sake of the beauty of the image. It's a peripheral area where we have sort of finding like a lattice, but it's not in the far periphery actually. Anyways, it looks really nice, and more or less this is my presentation.
I think we'll go to Dr. Ratchet-Skaya. She's got